Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm Cliff, and today I'm going to be going over something a little different. I drive a 2006 Scion XA, and I've been hearing a little bit of noise coming from the engine. This is my daily driver back and forth to work, A and B and C. Just wherever I go. I do have a truck as well, but I'd like to put miles on this thing. It is my clown car. I bought this from a guy that used to be a clown, so it is a clown car, but that doesn't mean that I can juggle. It's actually really tough. But the main part of this video is that is the sound that the car was making. Heard the sound, kept the car running while I went under the hood to hear where the sound was coming from. I couldn't really pinpoint it right off the bat. I checked several spots of the engine with a stethoscope. I just couldn't find it, so I just went to the area where it was, like, generally. So that was the alternator area. So I assumed it had to be like a pulley. One of the pulleys was going bad. It kind of had a bearing sound. Let's go ahead and play the sound for you. Something kind of weird, right? So, to the drawing board.
So if you're new to my channel, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. So I drive a 2006 Scion XA. Not a good X. XA. Bought it from a friend of mine so I could save money on gas going back and forth to work. It's very good on gas. I think I'm spending like 20 bucks a week. So this week, driving my car, I noticed a noise. And I know with these cars, you have to change the oil because it has a VVTi. It's variable valve timing. It'll change your valve timing to where you get more fuel or less fuel. It'll work with your fuel economy. So, and that valve, variable valve, runs off of your oil. So if you have dirty oil, your valve's not going to work, and you're just going to get standard gas mileage. It's not going to want to clock right. So I heard the noise, so I'm like, maybe I'll just change my oil. So, I got a little pan down there, changed the oil filter, which is located more up in the front. I changed the air filter, which is inside, and I inspected the engine. Now, on my car, the pulleys are all on the passenger side. They're not in the front, they're on the side. So when I was changing my oil, usually when you do that, you look at the engine, and on the passenger side, you'll find the pulley system, which you have your main drive, your power steering, your AC, main drive, AC, water, and alternator. So inspecting this area, there was a bunch of oil that had leaked all in this area. Your oil pans over here. So I looked in this area where it was coming from, and there's it has a hex head, Allen hex head, and behind this hex head there is a filter. It is for your VVT. the oil actually or your DVT operates off of your oil. So if you have dirty oil, your DVT is not going to work well. So I changed the oil and I cleaned the filter. Just pulled it. It's a little tiny thing. You barely even see it. But pull that out, cleaned it. There wasn't really much in there, but dirty oil, if it's super dirty, it will not go through and it will not operate your DVT. And I was thinking that was the problem. So after changing the oil, it didn't fix the sound. The sound was still there. Oil's done. We have new oil in it. New oil. That's out of the way. But I think from it being dirty oil, all of that oil pressure going to that filter and not going through, I believe it leaked around the threads and it leaked across my engine. Getting the alternator, water pump, the AC, and the main drive all the way down to the oil pan, all dirty and filled with oil. So, being as we just changed the oil, it should no longer be the issue for now. We still have the sound. So, to kind of narrow it down, inspection of the pulley system, I think where the sound was coming from, because it sounded like a bearing. So, to narrow it down, you have your belt going around your power steering and your main drive. Then you have another belt going around your AC, your water pump, and your alternator going back down to the main drive. So I was kind of thinking it was the power steering, but the easier belt to get to was the one that went around your AC, water, and alternator. So I took this belt off, took that one off, and I started my car. It'll still crank over without your belt on. I wouldn't drive it like that. That's your water pump. If that's not running, your car's going to overheat and you're going to have problems. Your alternator, your engine's just running off your battery and not your alternator. So you got to have that belt on to drive it. Don't just take that off just to solve the problem. You got to have the belt on. But I took the belt off, started my car, sound was gone. So it narrowed it down to one of these three. And these were fine. There was no noise in those. I checked the power steering fluid. It was fine. Main drive, there was no play in it, and it seemed fine. So where I started was the alternator. Since that's where the oil leak was coming from, the alternator was closest to it, I started there. So I took the old alternator out. And what I should have done was take the old alternator out and take it to AutoZone. AutoZone will test it for you for free. Just take it in there, have it tested. If it's fine, I could have just taken it back, put it on my car. Could have deducted that from the noise equation. But I was kind of lazy. I have the money. And I haven't really spent a lot of money on this car. So I just went ahead and put a new alternator. So that's not a problem. The problem was not the alternator. No longer the problem. Go down to the next one. Now before I moved forward, I went ahead and with the belt off, I grabbed the pulley and just kind of tried to get any kind of movement I could out of it. Just jiggling it back and forth. Same thing with the AC. Now, when doing this, the AC had no play in it. There was no wobble. It was solid. So I didn't think that was the problem. So, which led me to the water pump. Water pumps do go out. They're known for going out. So I went ahead and picked up a new water pump. Something I didn't have to do, but if I'm going to be in there, just replace it. You're right there. I think they're like, I spent on mine like $60. So I took the water pump out. There was a little bit of play in there. And I put and do the water pump in. And all kinds of fluid came out when I took the water pump off, and it was in a really tight spot, but I didn't need to take the motor mounts off or any of the parts except for the alternator. You got to take the alternator off to get to the water pump. But all kinds of water came out. Of course, it's a water pump. That's what it does. Make sure you have, like, I put a tarp underneath mine so it'll catch all that fluid, and just a bunch of rags around. So when the water comes out, it'll just soak up in the rags, and don't reuse the rags. Just toss them. Make sure you got like old shirts or whatever. Just something to soak up that water. Or even get a little tray. So that's what most people will do. Get a tray, bring it in. They'll most likely take it to AutoZone or any auto parts store. You might want to call them and check. So back to the water pump. I replaced that. Then I put my belt back on, and now I have a new water pump, and that solved the problem. So this is the old water pump. I could have taken this off and just kind of felt it. You can feel the bearing just a little bit, but you can still feel it. It won't give any play like this because it's not really being held by anything, but you can kind of feel a little something there. So, water pump, small. Usually in some vehicles they're huge and right in the middle. But that was the problem. So hopefully this has helped you. I needed to change the oil anyways, so you just gotta keep up on those kind of things. But I could have done a lot more testing before I got to this point. And that little jiggle, that was the giveaway. It should have been the giveaway, and I spent more than I should have. So hopefully this has helped you. This would have helped me, and that is the purpose of me doing this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for future videos. Thank you for watching.